So now we are moving on to the next flower. We are going to do peony. We have two kinds of peonies that we will be learning. So one is the open peony and the other is the closed peony. So in this lesson we will be doing an open peony. So I just wanted to show the veiners that we will be using, and we are going to have 4 sizes of the petals, and all the 4 sizes are going to go into the same flower. So we just start with the smallest and then the next size and then the third and the fourth. So we'll be making about say 6 petals of each of the sizes. So we'll have 6 4 24 petals that we'll tape it together to make one complete open peony. And there also the centers and some really tiny ovaries and all that to add up to the center, and that's what makes the open flower much more beautiful. You start seeing the details on the center. Okay, so now most of the technique is just the same as you've learned on the first flower, Cosmos. So I'm just going to brief up. Let's start with making the sausages first. So now for the sausages to be made, we need to know the height of the petal, and because we have 4 sizes, right, for each of them we're just going to measure 3/4 the height of each size of the petal. So I have the 26G wire. I'm going to cut the wire by half. So I'll have 4. And then for the first one, I'm just going to hold and just make sure which is the 3/4 height for this cutter, and then put the peppercorn sized gum paste under the wire and just twist it. If there's excess that comes out above the tip of the wire, remove that off. You don't want it like too thick as well, thin and even. So one is made, and right after making, you don't want it to dry. So similarly, I'm just going to make for the other 3. Measure, hold it there so you know the length of the sausage. So I'm just keeping all the sausages inside the Ziploc. And like I said, that's a damp towel. We just place the damp towel on top, so it is not going to allow the air pass through the Ziploc. So I'm just going to keep that one aside. The next is, let's get the petals cut. So don't take too much gum paste. I'm just going to cut one petal of all the 4 sizes. When you are going to do, you will be doing 6 numbers of petals of each of the size, but I'm going to do 1. And because I just wanted to show how would you do, or like more than 1 petal at a time, like that's like actually when you start doing things a bit more faster, not having so much wait time for the petals to just dry out, and that is when you will be doing this process, or just stick to the Cosmos method. where you will do one petal at a time. That works quite fine too. So stretching outside to make it as thin. So before cutting, you just need to know that the sheet just moves around on the counter, or if it is sticky, you just dust a bit of corn flour. I'm just going to start with one. Just go to one corner, just hold the cutter and see if it cuts, or you just need to put the sheet on the cutter. I'm just going to put one part of the sheet on the cutter now. First size is done. Second size out. Now again, these petals drying out is not good. So once after you cut, just put them all in, but make sure if the petals are sticky, and if you're going to put them into the ziplocs, the petals don't stick to each other. They should not stick to each other, and you just need to be careful about that. So once you do that, fold it like that, and then get the damp cloth covering it, and so you just safe that it will not dry out. And now we have the petals ready and the sausages ready, and then we move on to veining, where we are going to place the petal here and keep the sausage by adding some glue, and then press it, and then we will be ruffling up the peonies petals, and then we will be shaping it. Now for shaping, depending on what kind of cutters you are getting for peony, and the sizes, they could vary. I mean, you may not be able to get the exact cutter that I've used now, because there are different kinds of peony cutters and veiners as well. So for each of the size of the petals, we just need to be sure how we are going to cup them. So the petal, each of them should carry a proper cup shape. And if you just been told that, you know, any shaper like this, it can't be random to be put on this, like how we have done the cosmos. Or say if there is a egg carton, or say there is this apple carton, and then if you're just going to assume that egg carton has a proper cavity and apple cartons have like a broader cavity, and if you're just going to place our petals there, because that shape already exists, right? The egg carton's shape we can't change, and the apple carton's shape also we can't change. Now, if our cutters do not match with the cavities that are there existing, then the shape of the petal just goes by an existing shape of the dryer that is already there. And then we won't be getting the final look of the flower that we want, which is dependent on the cutter size that we are using. For that, I have picked up some of the cups. Now, you have to go find out some of the cups like this. Make sure the bottom is not flat. Most of the cups have this thing that the bottom is like quite flat. Now, even if you have, so that this is there is a bit of flat base to this. However, I'm going to show how we could just use these bowls and then create our own cup shapers. Okay, so for which we just need some foil. I'm just going to tear it up into two. I'm just going to half turn that, or to just fold, so kind of have like a stronger cup, and I'm going to insert this into this bowl. Just press it over, make it quite firm so the shape just takes. Okay, in case if the bottom was flat, okay, now you just remove this and then just use your fingers to just press it down and get the bottom rounded and not flat. Okay, so for me, the first three sizes I'm just going to put it in this shape. So I have made as many I would be needing. Okay, so which means if you are going to have 6 petals of one size, then you would need 6 petals for that particular size. 6 shapers like this made and then kept. So you will make as many as you need. So now in case you're just going to choose one size of the bowl like that, so for the first 3 layers you will need 6 plus 6 plus 6. That many formers is the first step that you will do. And because I'm going to do one of each petal, I have 3. Okay, and then for the biggest petal, the size of the bowl that I have chosen is this one, and the bowl, the shaper that's already made here, and except for the bottom, I just need to kind of round it and not keep it flat. Okay, so getting the shapers done, you could do it even before you're cutting the petals, so they don't have to lie down getting dried up. Also because I have kept the wet cloth on it and the ziplock nicely sealed, so my petals wouldn't be drying. Also because I have to make only few number of cups. Now if you have to make like 24 such shapers, then you could be doing this step first before going on to making the sausage and the petals. So now that the shapers are ready for me and the petals are also ready, just going to start with the first one. So I take that petal out, close the others, take the sausage. Obviously we made the sausages pertaining to the sizes, right? So you place it on the bottom veiner. You just need a brush and glue. Just add the glue. Place the sausage. In case you feel that's like a lot of glue, dust corn flour, and then place the top veiner and just give it a press. You could also just press it by putting your body weight on top. You could also just take it in your hands and then just massage it well, and that is when the veining will transfer onto the petal. So now once that is done, you just gently remove the petal of the veiner, and because it is an open flower, open peony, right? Now you will know whether we should keep the sausage down or up. So the next step will be the foam pad, and the sausage will go down because it is an open flower. And the next thing I will need is to ruffle the edges, for which you just need to dust some corn flour on the foam pad and then a little bit on the petal as well. And then I'm just going to use a smaller ball tool, and you know how to thin the edges, right? Now we're just going to ruffle. So thinning generally starts from one end and then you just keep moving all around and just keep moving in one direction. Now for ruffling, you hold the ball tool like a pen or a pencil. The movement will be to go back and forth. Stay in one section and go back and forth now until that part of the edge of the petal ruffles up, like you have to start seeing some layers of waves. Okay, so I'm just going to start from here. You don't have to hold that end of the wire. So half of the ball tool on the foam pad, right, and half of the ball tool on the edge of the petal. I'm just going to move back and forth in this position and allow the edge to start showing the waves. Back and forth. So I'm moving to the next section, back and forth, next part, smaller sections at a time. Even on the top edge. It's okay if it tears up a bit, but you need to understand how much pressure is needed for letting the ruffles show up. So all the time the ball tool will be half on the foam pad and half on the edge of the petal. So you can see the edge is starting to show the waves. So you could go over again for the second time to just get in a little more ruffles. Okay, so that will be the petal. I'm just going to get the shaper here, and to shape, if I'm just going to place it like that without doing anything to the petal, assuming the shaper will just help me give the shape, it won't work that way because the wire in the petal is straight. Now we are going to place it here at the bottom, and so the petal takes the shape of a cup. Now if I don't press the wire down to bend in the shape of the shaper, then my petal will not take the right shape that it needs to. So now as I'm going to place it here, I'll hold it there, I use my finger and then press the wire. So my wire also curves up. Okay, and how I'm going to place it is not this way. Okay, now I need to push the petal upward like that, and so the shape of the petal just curves up. So the shape is going to be somewhere like that. And this shape is quite important. So now this I'm going to allow to dry. Now what you will do is to make 5 more of the same size, which will be 6 petals of this one size. So I'm just going to set this aside to dry. I'm going to take the second size out. So the second sized petal will go on the veiner. Glue for the sausage. Sausage goes in. A bit of dusting so the veiner doesn't stick to the petal. Pressing it well. So it's veined now, and onto the foam pad, sausage side down. And now for the ruffling part, same thing, back and forth, stay in one section until you see the edge ruffles up. Make sure half of the ball tool is on the foam pad. So you can see the edges getting all the waves needed for all the ruffles that we want. For a flower like peony, you could just go one more time. Now if once with good amount of pressure, if you have the ruffles and you don't want to trouble that, you could just leave it out with just ruffling it once. So and from there the petal goes into the shaper. And now, like as it goes into the shaper, you just need to bend this wire, and only then the petal will take the shape. So bend the wire and place it in the former. Make sure the wire is bent and it is in line with the shape of the cup. Okay, so that will be the position for the second one. So which means the top of the petal should be pushed upward, and this wire bent, that is very important you do that. Okay, and then this also goes on to drying. See, now I'm just going to work 2 petals together. We need to be quite fast, not letting the petals in the sausage drying out. Petal in, glue, sausage goes, corn flour and remove excess. When you're working 2 petals at a time, we just move them in stages, which means you finish the veining for both of them together before we go on to ruffling. So I'm just moving it here with the sausage side down, and then quickly I'll just get on to the bigger petal, the biggest one as well. Glue, sausage, you feel like if your petals are drying quite fast, then you need to switch off the AC if you've been working with AC, and depending on the humidity levels that you are in. If your petals are like too sticky, then AC is needed, and if they are drying faster, then AC is not needed. Again, sausage side down. So working 2 petals at a time will require moving forward in stages. Okay, so now let me just ruffle. And if you ruffle and the petal doesn't move, which means it is stuck to the base, so work on and put some corn flour. So the third size is done. I'm just going to work on the last one. So ruffling is done, and then we just move on to shaping it. So the third size goes into the same size of the shaper. Bend the wire and make sure just open out the petals. Okay, and then allow it to take the shape. So this is the shape that we are looking at for a peony. Okay, now the third one is also done, and for the last one, I just put it into the bigger sized cup, bend the wire, okay, and then push it upward, and that is when you're going to have the shape. Now if it is just going to be like this, okay, quite flat at the bottom, then the proper shape wouldn't be there. Just push it upward and then let it stay. Bend the wire, okay, so this is the shape that I'm looking at. And now all four is done. So I'm just going to let this dry, even overnight is okay, 6 to 8 hours. And once they are dried, which means the shape has to be stiff and stable, and once you're going to pick it up, it shouldn't just droop, and that's when you know the petal is ready. And I will make 6 of each of these sizes, and I will get back once they are dried to show how we are going to dust these petals that we will be using to make the open peony. So see you in the dusting lesson.